Okay, Colin, can you just tell me, can you see that screen?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody. My name's Duncan Wood. I'm calling from North Wales, that's where I live. Just to give you a brief background, I've been making a full-time living, mainly started with network marketing, but led to online marketing, and I've been doing that for too many years to mention, at least about 30 or 40 years if I think back. I've had some fantastic times. I've made some very serious income, but I've also been involved with a lot of disasters as well. This last year was actually the worst year I've had for at least about 30 or 40 years. I went bankrupt once because of the bank not supporting me when I needed it, when a company went bust on me. And this last year has actually been the worst year since that happened. I was sitting here with more money going out than was coming in, didn't really know what to do, was looking at all the businesses I was currently doing, and none of them could really sort out my problem. So I was looking for something, I didn't know what, and just by chance, a very good friend of mine, John Van Derzen, sent me a video. I did watch that video, but I didn't focus on it. I should have done, but I didn't. And a week later, luckily, he messaged me and sent me a message saying that he'd been in this system for 16 days and he'd received in the bank 56,000. Well, I don't know about you, but I had to sit up and I had to call him and find out what was this about, what was different about it. That's what I wanted to know, what was unique about it, because I've heard of crowdfunding and crowdfunding systems before, but I wanted to know what was unique and different about this. So after the conversation with him, made a decision. He had answered all my questions. I actually couldn't see any reason to not get started, so I got started that night, sent 2 donations. One was $125 to John, and one was to a gentleman called Joe, who you drop under, or somebody drops under in a matrix, and I just happened to drop underneath him. I went to have my tea. The phone rang, and it was Joe calling from Canada to welcome me and thank me for sending him my donation. And he then told me a bit about himself. I asked him the same questions as I asked John. I asked him first, how long have you been involved? He told me the same time as John. He said, in actual fact, I introduced John. So then he mentioned his income. He was actually earning less than John, even though he introduced him. And that is the reason, the reason is because John worked slightly harder than him. But both incomes were very impressive. So after that conversation, I went to bed, got up the next day, hadn't spoken to anybody that night, hadn't introduced anybody, and in my bank was $250,000. Sorry, $250. I wish there was. So I broke even the first night, hadn't done anything, and I got started. I started speaking to people the very next day, and all I can tell you is this is without doubt the most amazing system or business, which whatever you want to call it, is not actually a business, it's a system that I have ever seen. And as Colin often says, I've been involved in so many different types of businesses in various categories, anything from telecoms to crypto, you name it, I've been involved. A lot of those companies I got started with, they were good at the time, are not around to this day. So I was looking for something. I didn't think it would be this, but I can honestly say this is without doubt the best thing I've ever seen for a long, long time. So let me just go through the presentation. This is the first thing I started to look at. I wanted to find out more about crowdfunding. I did know a little bit, but like anything, I hadn't really looked. So I started investigating. The first thing I actually did was phone up a solicitor because one of the first people I mentioned this to said to me this was illegal. So I knew he was wrong, but I didn't want to have an argument with him. So I thought, right, I'm going to go phone up a solicitor and find out the facts. And the fact is, this is totally legal in every country in the world. And the system they use, the matrix system, is totally legal in every country in the world. As you can see by this slide, there's various types of crowdfunding. There's 4 main areas: loan-based, investment-based, donation-based. And certain types, like investment-based, are regulated. This peer-to-peer is not regulated, which means it's totally legal in every country in the world. So what is exactly crowdfunding? Well, it's a system that's been around for thousands of years. Before we had banks, before people could borrow money, we used to help each other by working and helping in a community. And that's basically what crowdfunding is. It's a group of people getting together, helping raise or working together for the good of everybody, basically. So it's a process of raising funds really for whatever anybody can actually decide they want to raise funds for. So is it legal? Totally legal. So if anybody says to you it's not, maybe go and show them proof and evidence like I found. So why is crowdfunding growing? Well, it's basically because of one thing, the crash, the banking crisis that we've all experienced recently, and it's the bank system that's failing people. People have lost faith in the banking system. Banks aren't lending anymore, and it's all due to the mortgage-backed security failure. That's what kicked it off, but I don't think we've seen anything yet. We are probably likely to see another banking crisis very shortly. It is going to happen. If you want to find out more about it, well, there's certain books and videos and programs coming out on television. So the bank is the problem, and that is what has grown this system of crowdfunding, because people can't rely on the banks anymore. They don't trust them anymore. They are literally bringing a country to their knees. So there is a major problem in the financial system, and it's that is not helping, and banks don't lend you money. They create a security, basically. They create money from thin air, which means that the currency in people's pockets is actually devaluing because the banks just create it out of thin air. So they basically are just trapping people into getting into debt, basically. So the answer, one of the answers, is crowdfunding. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know what the other answer would be. Crowdfunding is a brilliant system, and as you can see here, there's names appearing on the internet now. I knew a lot of these companies but didn't realize what exactly they did. I'd heard of Indiegogo, I'd heard of Circle Up, I'd heard of GoFundMe. I actually thought they were companies to loan money from. I didn't think they were crowdfunding businesses, but they are, and they're growing. And the market is growing fast. If you go to Fundly, they state that the crowdfunding industry in the last few years alone has generated $34 billion gone through these various companies, and that's projected to grow by 300 to 300 billion by 2025. So how much of this market do you want? That's the question to ask. And you've also, it's not just crowdfunding companies that are getting on board. You can see here PayPal, one of the largest payment providers in the world, are now allowing people to use their platform to generate funds or raise funds for whatever purpose you want. Now, ask yourself this question. These companies, PayPal is massive. It's all over the world. For them to apply a system like this, that costs them a lot of not only research before they even do it, they know something is happening in the world, and that's why they're taking advantage of it. And they're not the only ones. You've only got to look now on social media now. The social media platforms are opening to enable members to donate money, not only to charity, but to raise it for yourself. So it literally allows anybody in the world to donate to any cause that you want to create. So can anybody crowdfund? Absolutely anybody. You don't have to be a big company. You don't have to be a charity. There is one thing: if you're under 13, I'm afraid you can't do it. If you're 13 and above, up to 17, you do need your parental permission, or your parents' permission. Over 18, that's your decision. Now, the one thing that's also really pushing this is the internet and mobile phone and computers. That, and of course, social media is the other thing as well that's spreading this very, very fast. So who's behind 50/50? That was one of the questions I wanted to ask. This is the guy, David T. Rosen. He's a Canadian. David is an expert in the crowdfunding arena because he's had 16 years experience. Now, David founded his first successful company in 2002. Now just think back to 2002. The internet was around, but it wasn't anything like it is now. We didn't have social media like we have now. We didn't have mobile, iPhones the way we have now. If you think about it, now we can run our whole lives from a mobile phone. Well, when David started this company, which is literally 16 years ago, none of that was really around. So he built this company, and it's still running to this day, G1, G4. Currently, it has 670,000 active members. It's generated nearly 1 billion in donations. And they didn't have the internet. They didn't have, well, they did have the internet, but nothing like it is nowadays. They didn't have social media. So can you imagine, this is what happened. David needed to sell that company because of ill health at the time, but he was very smart. He kept the license. He planned to hopefully get better, and he did, and wanted to start a different company using the latest technology. And this time he had learned from his experience and wanted to add other adaptations to the system to make it even better than the previous one. Now, he's predicted that this is going to be 10 times bigger than his previous company. If that's nearly generated 1 billion, imagine if this company 50/50 generates 10 billion. Could I ask whoever's got their mic open, if you could please mute yourself? Everybody can hear you, whoever it is. I don't know who it is. So David has built this company. It's still running to this day. And that's what really gave me confidence in this company 50/50. So why pick this company? Well, imagine if you'd have been involved in any of these companies at the beginning. We'd all be wealthy people. We wouldn't be sitting here today. So imagine how wealthy you'd be if you just got involved in Google, as an example. These are companies now that have become the biggest companies on the planet in a very short period of time, compared with most companies that take years to build up and have gone through tough times. Whoever it is that's just coughed, please could you mute yourself? Everybody can hear you if you don't mind. Okay. So timing is everything. Imagine if you'd got involved in these big companies right at the beginning. Ask yourself how wealthy you would be next year. So the time is now. 50/50 launched on the 4th of October 2018, so it's literally just over 2 months old. In fact, this is my 2-month anniversary. I started this literally 60 days ago. Unbelievable what's happened. And what is happening to this company is unbelievable, because we haven't seen anything yet. So timing is everything in business, and I couldn't think of a better time for anybody to get involved with 50/50. So how does it work? Well, first of all, 50/50 is the world's first crowdfunding system that allows you to receive half of everything that happens in your donation center, and that's for as long as you keep in this system. In other words, as long as you keep donating. So it can literally go on for as long as you want. 50/50 is based on the world famous Mobius loop and the System G technology, which is the most successful 2x2 following me donation center in history. That Mobius loop, when I really understood that, when I actually saw it happening, that's when a light bulb moment happened, and I just thought, wow, this is amazing. Now, if you still don't understand that yet, if you're quite new to this, the simplistic way of explaining it to you is everybody that you introduce follows you up every level, right the way through the system for life. Once you see that happening, I can tell you, you suddenly realize, wow, this is amazing, and it is different than anything else that's out there. So 50/50 is a team crowdfunding system that not only, it's not based on 100% of your own efforts, it provides help from above, from people you introduce and people they introduce. And it literally, you can start seeing donations, some people seconds after registering. It literally is a system that pays you, direct to your bank account, where you're not reliant on a company. So 50/50 is a peer-to-peer team crowdfunding system, which means there's no middlemen, no company that you're reliant on to pay you if they last long enough, which is what a lot of people have experienced, where they put good money into a company. Yes, it all looks good, it's all fine, and then something happens, and then suddenly you can't get your money out. You're not dependent on any company. It's peer-to-peer, person-to-person, sending a donation direct to your bank account. And that's immediately assigned to you as the beneficiary. So 50/50 gives you or provides you with an easy to navigate website. Basically, it's your site, it's unique to you, with your own link, with an automated dashboard that displays everything in real time. So everything that's happening is literally second by second, and allows you to monitor your donations, and you can see exactly where the donations are coming from and who or where you're sending the donations to. So it is trackable and traceable. So how do you get started? Well, there's 3 simple steps. First of all, you need to make a decision to get going. Second is you need to register, so you need the link from the person that introduced you. And the only money that you ever send to the company is in one side, which is 50/50 crowdfunding, is $29 if you start on the, and I'll explain this in a minute, 50/50 fast. It's $19, and that is purely for 6 months license, so twice a year, peanuts really. And after that, all you have to do is send 2 donations, dependent on where you start, whether it be on 50/50. Send those 2 donations. One goes to the person that sponsored you, and one goes to a person you drop below. Once you've done that, you are what's called an active donor. In other words, you've donated and you're now active. And then all you need to do is find 2 people. That is the minimum. You can introduce as many as you want, but let's just take the 2, because that is all you really need to do. And if you just then help those 2 who become active, in other words, they both donate, then all you need to do then is help those 2 introduce 2 people, and that is it. If you can do that, you can do this business. Anybody can find 2 people if they really want to. There's no time limit on it. You don't have to do it in a month or 2 months. It's up to you. My advice is do it as fast as possible. So there are donation centers, and you can have one or all of these donation centers. I started at the 250 level. That's all the money I've ever out of pocket and never put into the system. It's completely self-funding from that point. So as I said, I started that night. I donated $125 to my sponsor, $125 went to the person I dropped underneath in the matrix. You now have 6 places in your matrix, and you will receive $125 dependent on, it doesn't matter who introduced or filled that spot. It could be you, it could be your upline, it could be somebody you've introduced. You will receive 6 times 125, so a total of 750 at the 250 level. At any time you can upgrade, so you'd have the 250 and the 500, let's say. At the 500 level, you receive 250 per donation, and there's 6 in every level. So you would receive 6 times 250, a total of 1,500 for the 250 level, plus you'd have what you're receiving from the 250 level as well. Now the objective is to upgrade and get to the higher levels, and you do that with what you're receiving. So you are never out of pocket other than the initial 250 you started with. And you can literally, just to give you some idea of time scale, I literally got up to the 5 levels in this system within, I think it was a month. Don't quote me on that. I think it was, I'll lose track of time, to be honest. But it's not a long time, and that is completely self-funded. Now I have 5, or you can have 5 levels. Each level bringing in a level 5, 2,000 times 6. You can work. You can see it 12,000. At the same time, you could be getting donations from the level 4, 1,000 times 6, 6,000 on that level, and you can work it out. If you just had 1 or 2 donations a month on each level, amazing. So very recently, 50/50 Fast was launched, and this was launched basically to open it up to anybody, no matter what their financial situation is. If somebody really can't afford $250, then they could start at these lower levels, and these are literally just underneath the 250 level. So now there's the $25 one, the $50, and the $150. As you can see here, at the $25, it's 6 times $12.50, so $75 you would receive in total dollars. On the 50 level, you would receive 6 times 25, which is 150. And on the 150 level, it's 6 times 75, which is 450 total. Now, there are 8 levels now, and you can have all 8 levels running at the same time. So that's it basically in a nutshell. There are the both plans. So there's the 50-50 fast, and somebody could start at the $25 level and work their way right up to the top, to the 8th position, with no further capital outlay from themselves. You can literally do it. Now, if you want to, you could have the 25, the 50, the 150, and the 250 all run it all just in day one. If you can afford it, do it. If you can't, just start at a level that suits you. You could start with the 25 and the 50. You could start with the 25, 50, and 150. Either way, it's really up to each individual. My advice is just get those levels or reach those levels as soon as you can. Because if you're not, you are missing out on money that's sitting in the table. So you can have each level in operation simultaneously. You can use the same login for both platforms. They will be integrated very soon into one platform, and all levels can pay out multiple times each day, each week, or each month. And all levels continue forever. As long as you keep donating on each level, you will keep receiving, and you always keep receiving more than you're donating. In fact, 50% more. Now, where's the company today? Well, literally, it's a few days past this when this was announced, but this company now has 14,000 members. When I joined literally 2 months ago, there were only 500 people in the company. So it just gives you some idea of how fast this is growing, and we haven't seen anything yet. We've only just added the 50-50 fast. And there's currently, now there's 7 million being raised through donations. None of the money of that money has gone to the company. That's all direct to people that have been involved in 50-50 since it started 2 months ago. That's 3.5 million a month. Imagine what the statistics are going to be for January very soon. I can tell you, you wait for a surprise. The people that maybe have taken time or dilly-dallying around, waiting, I'll tell you what, they're going to be shocked when they hear some of the incomes and the figures that of the growth of this company. So how do you get started? Well, my advice is get back to the person that invited you on this call, get your questions answered. I'll be stop sharing in a second, and we will answer most of the questions people generally ask, and then if you have a specific question, you're welcome to unmute your mic to ask that question. My advice is find your reason why. Start dreaming again. You need a big goal and a big ambition. If you don't have a big goal or a big dream, nobody is going to motivate you. Only you can motivate yourself. And my advice is, if you want to learn the system, there's no better way of learning something than actually doing it. You know, if you're sitting there trying to understand it, you could be there for a long time. Because to me, it's like if I describe to you how to drive a car, you're never going to learn how to drive it. Sometimes you just have to take that plunge, go and do it, and you'll soon pick it up. It is quite a simple system, but believe you me, it does take a little bit to get your head around it. As soon as you do it and you start seeing everything happening, it works fantastic. And this is a team system. So that's what crowdfunding is. It's a group of people helping each other, and that's what we're all doing. So you need to work with your team as a group and help each other. That's what this is all about. So we have, this is the last call for before Christmas. We will, Colin and I were just discussing earlier, we probably will have a call on next Thursday and Friday, and that will be the last call this year. And then we will start shortly after the new year. So I'm just going to stop sharing now. Okay, and I can see you all again. And Colin, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, mate.
Okay. First of all, let me and Colin just run through, if you don't mind, Colin. I hope I'm just. We'll run through the basic questions that most people ask. As I said on the call, the first question, it wasn't a question, somebody told me that this was illegal. I didn't believe him. In fact, I thought he was mad because I knew it wasn't illegal. Why? Just think about this. Do you think PayPal and do you think Facebook would be doing crowdfunding if it was illegal? Do you think the owner of this company is going to risk his reputation, his millions that he's made, because he suddenly decided to do something illegal? I just cannot believe people even think that. But if you really don't believe it, do as I did. Phone up somebody that knows about the law. Go and have a look on the internet and do some research yourself. And you will realize that this is totally legal. Not just crowdfunding, but the system that this company uses, the matrix, that is totally legal. Now, just while we talk about that, one of the other questions people say is, oh, that's one of those pyramid things. Well, I'm speechless sometimes when people say it, because they're often saying it and they don't realize what they're saying. And there's if you think about it, every business is a pyramid. There is always the top of the CEO, the top of the pyramid, and then he has his managers and his senior managers and his workers, and most people are at the bottom of the pyramid. And the problem with traditional, what I call corporate pyramids, is that you will never ever get to the top, ever, unless you work like mad. And I'll tell you what, you'd have to work your butt off for probably most of your life and buy the company off him, and you become now the top of the pyramid, and all the people at the bottom are never going to get to where you are. This is a pyramid, yes, it's a pyramid shape, but the difference is the people at the bottom, or you, if you want to call it, can earn more than the person that introduced you if you work harder than him. And if you call talking to people working hard, well, I don't know about you, but I used to be a builder. That's what I call hard work. Finding work, keeping the work coming in, going to work every day, trading my time for money, that's hard work. This is simple, this is easy. And people make a big thing of it. It really is so simple to do. It's actually people that make it hard because they complicate it, unfortunately. That's the problem. So if somebody ever says to you it's a pyramid, ask them a question, what do you mean by that? And I'll guarantee they really don't understand what it is they're even asking. It's like when somebody says to me, oh, that sounds like a Ponzi. Ask them a question back. Say, well, explain to me, what do you understand as being a Ponzi? Because this definitely is not a Ponzi. A Ponzi is a system where the only money coming in is from people paying money into the company. Well, think about this. We don't pay any money into the company, so how can it be a Ponzi? It's just ignorance, I'm afraid. That's all it is. So people say things out of, there's a saying, I'm just trying to remember, I put it on the Facebook page. What is it? Knowledge is, I've forgotten, it'll come to me in a second. Anyway, it is purely knowledge those people need before they go around spreading rumours or giving people opinions of something they know nothing about. Colin, can you think of any other questions? Oh, I tell you what.
Yeah, there's a great question I heard today, and you're probably going to hear this a lot, where people will say to you, oh, this is MLM. You're not allowed to have crowdfunding and MLM.
It's not MLM.
it absolutely is not MLM. Nobody receives any commission from anybody.
Yeah.
Never mind multiple levels. Yeah. We receive donations off 2 levels. It's a donation. Every donation we send is to 2 people. It doesn't get any simpler than that. So when people, especially if they come from a home-based background, they make assumptions straight away. They'll assume it's a fixed matrix and only the people at the top make the money. We know, or hopefully you'll see from the Morbius loop, that that's not the case. It's a very fair system. Everybody floats around. The brand new people get support from people that have been in a lot longer than themselves. People that come in 12 months' time could receive more in donations than you do if they work harder than you, if they build a bigger business than you.
There's something else, Colin, that's actually I've only had 2 people bring this up. One person said to me, this is like those cash schemes. And I said, oh, you mean something like Women in Power? I don't know whether you remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
They're comparing it to that. Let me tell you this. Cash schemes, the reason why they were shut down, and think about it, what currency do criminals use? Cash. Why? Because they're trying to hide it, because they don't want to pay tax on it. You know, this system we use goes straight into your bank account. It's not cash put under the bed. One guy did say to me, so what's the difference between a gift and a donation? Well, I'd never had that question before, so I thought, right, let's go and find out. So I did. I went and found out on the internet. There is a big difference between a cash gift and a donation. And the difference is a gift is a gift. So if I gave you a gift as a present of some money, I paid the tax on that. If I donate to you, you pay the tax on that. That's the difference. So it's like anything, unfortunately, people say things and they're often saying things that they know very little about. So it'd be better off them saying nothing, to be honest with you.
Yeah. The whole idea is to keep it really simple. I mean, everybody understands how the other platforms work, like GoFundMe. If you want to donate to somebody, you send your money directly to that one person. The only difference here is we send a donation to 2 people. Once we've done that, we're able to receive donations. It's simple. We keep it as simple as that.
I have a question here. You said about cash. So are you saying any receiver is allowed or is not allowed in the system to receive cash?
They can do, Mohammed, but let me tell you this. It's no different than a business accepting cash as payment for a job. You have to declare that tax-wise. So it's your responsibility if you receive cash, because remember, everything was recorded in your back office. So you've got to confirm that you've received it. If you've not received it in the bank or through PayPal, then it's your responsibility to declare that. Same way as if you're in business for yourself, it's your responsibility to sort out your tax situation. Now, my advice is it's worth paying for an accountant, a good accountant. So when you're making what I call the big income, because you don't need to worry about this until you're starting to make what I would call the serious, or receiving, should I say, the larger donations, then you do need to go and get advice from an accountant. And I would pick a good accountant, not a...
Right. Thank you very much. It's just that you made it very clear, or if you do make it clear, then money laundering can be...
Absolutely, yeah.
Which can be a problem for the business.
Absolutely.
Also, you said about it's not MLM. Yes, it may not be MLM, but I do believe it has the behavior or the structure.
Well, Mohammed, the only reason people compare it with MLM is because you can recruit. Now, MLM is, as it says, it's multi-level. You get paid on multiple levels. You are receiving here, you're not getting paid, remember. There's a big difference. Now, this is where people need to get the right terminology. We are not getting paid. In multi-level marketing, you're receiving commission for levels of people. Well, you only get or receive donations. We're not getting paid. We are receiving donations. There is a big difference, and this is where people need to understand and get the terminology correct. I mean, listen, even I slip up sometimes. It's like when I say profit, yes, you are making profit, because if you deduct the amount you've donated from the amount you've received, that is profit. Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
That helps. Okay, Mohammed. Anybody else would like to open up their mic and ask a question? You're quite welcome. If you have any noise in the background, I prefer it if you type the question in the chat room. We are recording this, and this will go out to everybody, and everybody can use it. So if you have got noise in the background, please just type the question in the chat box, and I'm sure Colin will read it out if there are any.
Yeah.
It's there.
Hi, Dolly.
Oh.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to make a comment that I did a GoFundMe maybe a year ago, and I had it out there for many, many months, and I ended up only getting $600, and then GoFundMe took 12% of it.
So, Darlene, I'm glad you. Now, listen, can I just ask you? You did that for your daughter, didn't you?
It was for actually my family, but mostly my son.
Okay, so can you just explain that? Because to be honest with you, I was I was thinking about this question, and you've just brought it up now, and it's brilliant. I'm glad you have done. So just explain to people exactly what you just said. So if you used, say, one of the other crowdfunding systems that are on the internet, how do they make the money is the question. So you just answered it there. Could you just say that again? What you just...
Well, I started the GoFundMe, and it took me a long time to put it together so that people would be attracted to it. A lot of work went into just setting it up, and then I didn't understand the fees, and I learned later, of course, when they took 12%, and what they do is they take so much off the top, like maybe 3%, but they also charge per donation. Like
Right.
they keep like 30% per donation. So it was ridiculous to lose 12% of $600.
That's amazing. Darlene, I'd love you to put that in writing. We need to let people know this, because I'm learning something here, because I did hear this the other day and I still wanted to get my head around it to understand exactly how do these companies make their money, because they're not doing it for the love of it. They're not doing it to help you and I. They're doing it for one reason, to make money.
That's
like any business.
That's the huge difference with what David has done. He's a multi-millionaire. He has been broke. In 2000 or 2001, he was broke. He has stated he was living in a car. He couldn't afford to feed his daughter. By 2003, after about a year of running his new program, his first program, he was a multi-millionaire. And he stated that when he started 50/50, the idea is not to make a huge profit out of the membership. The whole idea, it's $29 every 6 months, which is like $5 a month or something like that. Or the lower one is $19. Somebody worked out for me, that's $3 a month. So he's not doing that to make a profit. What he wants is for us to be able to change our lives, to actually do well out of his platform. Very, very, very transparent compared to, as you just said, the other platforms. They will charge you transaction fee. They will charge you on every single donation because they have to. That's how they make the money. This is why Facebook are doing it. This is why PayPal are getting involved in it. They won't do it for nothing.
So there is another plus for 50/50. The fact is the donation goes direct to the person. There's no cost going to the company. There's no fee for it other than, as you said, the $29, which is once every 6 months. Fantastic. Thank you for that, Darlene. You've given me, I think we really need to post something up onto the Facebook group, because that was crossing my mind. I wanted to know why, as an example, we're telling the people out there about 50/50. So the question coming to my mind was, so why wouldn't somebody just go to Facebook, or why wouldn't they go to, what's it called, Viagogo or whatever it's called?
Indiegogo.
Yeah, to use their site. Now I know exactly why they wouldn't, because this is a million times better. Brilliant.
Well, let me add though too that when I joined 50/50, I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't really done a lot of research. I did the kind of like jump in and figure it out. And within maybe 30 minutes, I had my $250 back.
Yeah.
And within my first 7 days, I had $1,000.
Fantastic.
So I received $1,000. So considering that my GoFundMe was probably online for maybe a year, and I had $600, and so this is definitely a better deal.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Darlene.
I can put that in. I can write that up.
Brilliant. I think we'll
sort out a testimonial video, Duncan. That'd be a great idea.
Well, yes, but
maybe a few people on here today that have actually received donations, whether it's 1 donation or 10 donations. That's what people want to know. Will it work for me?
Well, this is still being
a good donation.
This is still being recorded, so we've got you. Thank you for that, Darlene. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. So somebody else that was unmuted themselves wanted to ask a question. Who was that? Back on. Hi, Paul.
This is Paul. Yeah.
From Hawaii.
Yeah. I want to thank Darlene for sharing that great info. And I'm wondering if you can expand more on the CF and the FAST, the difference between those.
Well, they're exactly the same, but obviously the amounts you receive are a lot less on the 50-50 fast. And the reason why they introduced that, if you think about third world countries, $250, which is the minimum to start 50-50 CF, that is a lot of money. I mean, that is literally probably, I don't know, a month's, a year's wages for somebody in a third world country. So $25 is much more affordable. So now David decided to open up the 50-50 fast for anybody that wants to do it. So as an example, we were already in 50-50 CF. I was at the 250 level working my way up, and I decided to just add the other 3 levels below the levels I'm on. And just talking about that, I understood because somebody said to me, this is why you should never believe rumours, that the 2 incomes were actually shown in the 50-50 CF, the main site. In actual fact, they're separate. So I don't know whether you know, but I posted my 2 months anniversary amount I'd received today. Well, you need to add on another 3,000 onto that. You know, that's the real figure, because in the meantime, a lot of us took advantage of the 50-50 fast, and believe you me, it is fast, because that was literally, as anybody can remember, how many days ago, how many days old did that? Can you remember, Colin? Is it a week?
Got to be about a week, if that's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, I donated. I took on the 3 donation levels: the 50, the 25, the 50, and the 150. And literally today, I can tell you, it's just over 3,000 I've received in donations. Wow, that is amazing. I mean, this is why, you know, I'm not just saying this. It is without doubt the most amazing system I have ever seen. But the problem is, some people will start off, do a little bit, and then slow down, and then do nothing. And then they'll say, oh, well, I never really saw much happen. Well, you're never going to see anything happen or much happen unless you do something. And in this, all you have to do is focus on just getting 2 people. And when you've got those 2 people, help them get 2 people each. That's it. If you can do that, then you can go and get your 3rd person and your 4th person. Once you understand and know the system. And the whole point of these calls is you don't even need to do that. You can literally bring people on a call, and we'll sit here and answer their questions all day long.
The beauty of the lower levels is quite straightforward as well, because if somebody can afford to at least start at the $25 level, and they can find 2 people that will follow them that will also start at the $25 level, it won't be long before they have received enough in donations to go up to the $50 level. And then it won't be long before they've received enough to go to the $150 level. Before you know it, they're into the main platform at $250 with their 2 people following right behind them. So they're qualifying as they move through. It's actually very good. And it also cuts out a lot of the copycat companies that have tried to copy what 50-50 have done. But obviously they haven't got our Mobius loop. They haven't got this major software which we have, so they can't even copy it correctly.
Colin, there's a few questions on the chat here.
Okay.
One is, what happens if the person you introduce donate more than you? Well, the only reason somebody would be donating more than you is if they are cycling faster than you. Because
they might have gone to a higher level. They might have started at a higher level, I think they might.
Well, let me answer that, Henry, because let's give you the scenario. Let's say you are at the 250 level and you introduce somebody who starts at the 250 level or decides to start at the 250 and the 500 level. Well, in that scenario, unfortunately, you miss out on 1 donation on the 500 level. Because you're at the 250 level, you won't miss out on that. but on the 500 level, you will miss out on one donation just for that one time. If you then upgrade, you are now equal, and you will now, because you introduced him, you will always receive off that person for life. So the advice is always, if you can, stay ahead of your group. In other words, upgrade before they do. But if you're working as a team, I mean, Colin and I know each other, and Colin often used to say to me, are you ready to move up to the next level yet? And I'd say, give me a day or so and I'll be ready. And we'd help each other. We're working together. You know, that's the whole point. So I'm glad, I'm so pleased to be working with somebody like Colin, because he's helping me and I'm trying to help him. That's what it's about. It's working as a team, and just work together. And if you can, stay ahead of your team. If you can't, don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. I did have one person who said he made a mistake, and he upgraded to the 4,000 level. Now, I missed out on that big donation of 2,000. Is it the end of the world? No, not really, because I introduced him. So now I'm up to the 4,000 level. Guess what? Next time he cycles, what do I get? He always follows me. That's the system. That's how it works. So hope that helps. What happens when you get to the end of cycle 4,000? Well, if you've reached the 4,000 level, you've now got all 8 levels. All that happens is every time one of those levels finishes, in other words, it cycles, you have to donate at that level again if you want to receive again.
Also, you need to be qualified at that level, so you need to have about 2 people you first introduced at that level for you to cycle again. So even on the 4,000 level, anybody on day 1 could go straight to the 4,000 level if they have the funds. And they're able to receive, once they've donated $4,000, $2,000 to one person, $2,000 to another person, they're then qualified to receive 6 donations at $2,000, which is $12,000. But if they haven't personally introduced 2 people on that level, then they won't be able to do it again until they've introduced 2 people at that level.
If you think about this system, if you were going into business and you wanted some managers, some directors to work with you, think about who would you go and choose? What friends have you got that you would love to work with you? Because that's what you are doing in this system. You want 2 people that you can help and work with, and they're going to follow you right the way through all the levels, right up to the 8 levels. And once you get there, they will just stay with you and just keep helping each other. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant system. And the good thing is nobody can fiddle it. Nobody. That's what I loved about it when I understood that. I don't know whether there's any more questions here. Let me just go through them.
I have a question.
Yes.
Some of my team, they haven't even received one kind of spillover.
Yes.
So you're saying that you get spillover, you get below spillover. They work day and night for it. They don't get nothing.
Mohammed, who's their sponsor?
Sorry, I mean, like, sponsor not relevant. The answer.
Sorry.
Sponsor is not the relevant answer. What I'm trying to say is that.
No, Mohammed, I was asking because if you think about it, it's the person who sponsored them. If they're not doing anything, they're sitting there waiting for their sponsor to do something. If their sponsor's not doing anything, they're not going to see nothing. How are they going to get spilled down if the sponsor does nothing?
I mean, like, my sponsor's account's quite heavy, actually. His account is quite heavy, so he's doing something.
Well, Mohammed, also as well, you've got to remember, if the person that introduced you is working harder than you, they are keeping ahead of you. So in the end, every business, I wouldn't advise anybody to come into any business. I don't care what it is, this system or a business or anything, and sit there and wait for people or something to happen without them doing anything. To be honest, it's whoever introduced them that's telling or leading them or misleading them to thinking that they are just going to sit there and do nothing and just receive.
Well, yes, there is some people in the team have that kind of behavior.
Well, that's their fault then.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say to you, even if you work hard, for example, most of the earnings that I have is my hard work. I don't see a lot of spillover.
Well, nor do I, Mohammed. But listen.
But then it's saying to people, you get a lot of spillover.
No, listen, I have never said to anybody, sit there and wait for spillover. You will get a little bit, and if you don't get it in the first matrix, you will do in the second or third matrix. Everybody at some time will see somebody drop below them. But if they don't do anything, they will never get to that point where they see it. So I hope that helps. In the end, don't sit there waiting for it to happen. Go out and do it. And the ones
I'm the one at home, actually. I'm outside.
No, I'm not saying you, Mohammed. I'm just saying don't tell people to sit there and expect it to happen. And if you have introduced or somebody has introduced them, take responsibility for helping them, because that's the word sponsor, responsibility. Take responsibility. If you're not prepared to take responsibility, don't recruit anybody.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
There we are. So that's what people have to learn, I'm afraid. Now, put it this way, if they are unfortunate to be sponsored by somebody who doesn't take responsibility, then what they've got to do is go up above them or find somebody that does help them. Exactly the same way as if you were sponsored in a multi-level marketing, let's say, if you didn't have an active sponsor, you were told to go upline, weren't you? So you go and find somebody that is prepared to help you. And do you know what? I'll help anybody in my system, whether I introduce them, somebody else introduced them, it doesn't matter, because money flows up, always does. So my advice is go and help those people and help them see some spillover by getting them active. Basically, they'll see something.
Brilliant. I want to say just welcome to Precious from South Africa, who's just joined us.
Hi, Precious.
Registered.
Good on you. Well,
welcome.
Good decision, Precious. Best Christmas present you'll ever have.
I think so. I think so. This is going to be a great time of year for everybody. If you're going to be around different people and they ask you what you do, you know what you need to do. When they ask you what you do, you tell them you've had your eyes open to something that's absolutely exciting. They're going to say, well, what is it? And you'll say, oh, I need to send you a video that explains it all. Don't explain it there and then while you're relaxing. So then you're going to get